Today, we'll begin with a new chapter, that is chapter 42, in continuation with yesterday's story, which Sri Narasimha Saraswati was narrating about Twasta, the grace of how he had the grace of Lord Vishveshwara. So, chapter 42, Lord Vishwanath's grace on Twasta. Very good morning, Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. Wishing you a very, very happy Guruvar, Thursday morning. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. This chapter describes Twasta's Kashi Yatra and how he earned Lord Vishveshwara's grace and was able to fulfill all the impossible demands of his Guru and his family members. This chapter teaches us that there is nothing which cannot be achieved through faith. Oh my God, this is a very, very, very profound chapter and also profound truth. See, every chapter talks about a most important aspect, which is about Guru Bhakti and Guru Seva. Bhakti, which is most important, devotion with absolute faith, and Seva. Seva is service unto the lotus feet of the Gurudev. Here, what is Twasta doing? He is actually serving his master. His master has asked him to perform the most impossible tasks. And now Twasta is working towards getting those tasks fulfilled. And if we think that, oh, this is not going to be possible, this is going to be impossible, and if we fear, what happens? Then we lose out. Our mind says, oh, we cannot achieve this. It is impossible task. You know why? The demands which the Guru and his family members have put forth is actually, if you look at it from a human point of view, it is not possible to achieve. But when you have the Guru Bhakti, you know you will be able to achieve with the grace of the Guru. You think there is anything in this world that you cannot achieve? Can any calamity, come and stand on your way? Or is there anything that is impossible? Nothing is impossible when you have this faith in your divine Guru. That is what this chapter is all about. Why this Leela is performed and this anecdote is being taught, so that we have this absolute faith even when such events in our life happen to be, and we just need to hold on to our lotus feet of our Gurudev, and let me tell you, magic will happen. He's going to show you their downside. He's going to show you what's going to come about. He's going to actually put Maya in front of you to see whether you stand the faith in your divine master or you fall prey to Maya, the delusions. Like my Krishna Guruji was giving a very beautiful satsang, and in that he was telling this whole world itself is a chimera. We are just going by what we see, the pink color glasses we wear, all the time. We don't understand the truth. Please remember, this entire universe is a creation of the divine Lord Almighty, and that is unreal. So don't be afraid of anything. You need to face life. You need to fight life. And when you have the Guru, Lord Shri Krishna on your side, is there any war that you can't win? Absolutely not. You can achieve the most impossible things as well in your life, which we think is impossible, but there's nothing like something is impossible. I keep saying this. The word impossible says, I am possible. So where there is Lord Shri Krishna, there is always victory, grandeur, glorious, righteousness, dharma, goodness, love will prevail. So have that faith. So let us continue and see what happens now. Siddhamuni. This chapter describes Twasta's Kashi Yatra and how he earned Lord Vishveshwara's grace and was able to fulfill all the impossible demands of his Guru and his family members. This chapter teaches us that there is nothing which cannot be achieved through faith. Siddhamuni continues the narrative as under. The Avadut instructs the young celibate about the Kashi Yatra Vidhi, Giriha Yatra, Dakshina Manasa Yatra, Uttara Manasa Yatra, and finally the Pancha Krosha Yatra. Early in the morning, after taking the bath in the Ganges, one should first offer worship to Dhundi Raja and then offer his worship to Lord Vishveshwara. Ganga Snana, Snana means bath. Ganga Snana confers the same worship to Lord Vishveshwara. Ganga Snana confers the same, Ganga Snana confers the same merit which Dhyana did in the Krita Yuga, tapas or penance in the Treta Yuga, yajnas in Dwapar Yuga. In the Kali Yuga, Ganga Snana is the most meritorious rite and endows one with the Moksha Samrajya. Moksha Samrajya means attaining liberation. Samrajya means it's like the kingdom, sort of. That is sovereignty or freedom of spirit, absolutely. As soon as one rises from bed, if he just thinks of the Ganges river 3 times, he will be purified of all his sins. See, here there are different ways how you attain the purification, how you attain devotion, how you start your day in the most beautiful manner, in the sattvic mode. We always have to be in the sattva guna. We should never fall for rajas or tamas. This is exactly what my Krishna Guruji keeps teaching us. You have to always be on the path of sattva alone, goodness. That is what you have to live with. It is very easy to fall into tamas. So never go into that mode. So what is important? Here he's saying, as soon as you rise from bed, if he just thinks of the Ganges river 3 times, he will be purified of all sins. There is no other easier saving path in the Kali Yuga than a bath in the holy Ganges. So this is a very easy path. See, because today, if you take today's day and age, not everybody is privileged to have the real guru in their life. That is number one. And people also don't understand what it means to be on the path of spirituality. So what is the easy way out? Some of these methods which is being prescribed are very easy for human beings to achieve. So these methods are being prescribed for each yuga. Different yuga has a different method. So in Kali Yuga, just having a bath in Ganga water, that is Ganga river, purifies you of all your sins and karmas. That is why people go to holy Kashi and dip themselves in the holy Ganges. And most important, why holy Ganges? Can you imagine how many sages, saints, and for years and years and years, past so many yugas have been coming in, dipping their holy feet in Ganga, making it so holier. Every moment, every time they dip their holy feet, Ganga becomes pure. And all the, it's not that I don't know what the right word is, but they leave their essence, the essence of the divinity. Every saintly essence is literally there in that holy Ganga. So when we have bath, that purifies us, that absolves us of our sins and karma. So the purification of heart happens, purification of mind happens. And when you are purified, then you can surrender to the lotus feet of your Gurudev or your God. Then you are in that sattva, the sattva guna, the goodness alone, prevails. So that is why it is important for us to always think good, speak good, and do good things alone. We should not think anything bad. We should not have any evil thoughts. We should not think about any such thing which will push our goodness towards sattva and become tamasic in nature. What can make it happen? Imagine just one bad thought about somebody. See, if you're judging someone, oh, this person is good, this person is bad, the thought itself is a negative thought. Okay, he's good, he's bad, he's bad. The moment you say he's bad or he did this, your mind has already come in place. And then your mind is going to give you more food for thought, where it is going to take you down in the downward spiral. So becoming negative is very easy, but staying positive and staying in that thought, in the thought of goodness, is very difficult. So these practices have been prescribed so that we always try to live in the sattva guna. And let me tell you, doesn't mean that you go to the holy Ganges, dip yourself, you're going to be in sattva guna. Sattva guna, being in sattva guna itself is a tremendous amount of effort. Even on the path of those who are on spirituality and living with the Guru and even listening to the Guru's teaching, it is not so easy to follow. You know why? Because we let our mind come in. We let the mind talk nonsense. We let our mind rule our world. So what is that you need to control? The control is of your mind alone. There is no demons outside. There is no evil outside. Everything is within you alone. So control your mind. Always, think good. Always be in the thought of the divine Lord Almighty. And that is why in those who are on the path of spiritual and those who have a guru and those who have been initiated, they have the Kan mantra. So you have to constantly keep chanting that mantra. So the purification happens. So your mind is not going to tell you anything negative. It's not going to talk nonsensical things to you. So that is one way of controlling your mind. So Kashi is called Avimukta Kshetra, Ananda Kanana, Mahasmanas. Sorry, I don't understand these words, but you need to look into a Google or a glossary, but I'm just going to read them for you. Mahasmasana, Rudrageha, etc. Every bit, every inch of it is most holy for 5 kroshas around Kashi. Within the sacred precincts of this 5 krosha area, there are many sacred lingas, tirthas, etc. Therefore, whoever does this Panchakrosha Yatra will have had darshan and will have done pradikshanas of so many holy lingas and sacred centers. And the merit which this endows is limitless indeed. Lord Vishveshwara has conferred special merit on Manikarnika. It is as meritorious and sacred as the Vishwanath temple itself. One has to take bath in the Chakra Pushkarani, then perform oblations to Devas and Pitrus and offer charity to Brahmins. Thereby, all his ancestors are redeemed and they attain Akshaya Punya Lokas, eternal life in heavens or divine realms. It's very beautiful. This is actually very true. This is many years ago. I'll give you my own experience. This is even before I met my Krishna Guruji, way back in time, when I must have been out. Yeah, I must have been working back sometime in 2000s, I think so. It so happened that this body's father have lost his mother at a very early age, and they have not done this what you call the Pitrus, the offerings to the Pitrus. So once, many years later, this body's grandmother, who's no more, comes and asks me in my dream, can you give me the Pinddan? Pinddan means make your father come to Kashi and give me Pinddan. And she says, you have already performed it in Rameshwaram. Can you please come and offer the same thing in Kashi? And I was amazed because I've never seen my grandma. All I know is the picture. And how come she's coming and asking this? So there must be something. Then we organized for my parents, this body's parents, to go to Holy Kashi and perform this Pitru, whatever the pujas are. So it is extremely important to perform these rites, the rituals which is prescribed. And once it was done, all these people who have been waiting for the food, they were hungry. What do they attain? They attain Akshaya Punya Lokas, eternal life in heavens and divine realms. Once they were fed, they were released, they were free, and they were hungry waiting for this dhan to be made. So it is extremely important. We have to follow some of these vidhis which is mentioned. But please understand, once you come on the path of spirituality and once you have a guru, then none of these things are applicable. But if your Guruji says no, you must do certain things, you will have to perform as a bodily duties, and that is extremely important. So coming back, every day one has to do the Antagriha Yatra and then the Dakshina and Uttara Manasa Yatras. One has to bath in Jnanavapi and worship Sringara Gauri, that is goddess Parvati. On Tuesdays and Sundays especially, Bhairava has to be worshipped, which will endow great merit. On Ashtami, Navami and Purnima days, Mother Annapurna has to be worshipped. It will endow all good and auspiciousness. Vishnumurti, Dhundiraju, Bindu Madhava are also to be worshipped. During the Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha, every day in the prescribed way, all will have to bathe in the particular tirtha and worship the particular lingas. Doing the Abhisheka, one should stay as many days as possible in Kashi and in his own name enshrine one Shivlinga there. By doing this, and offering worship and Abhisheka to Lord Vishveshvara, one would get Shakshatkara, the direct vision of Lord, after giving these instructions. Direct vision of the Lord. After giving these instructions to the young lad, the Avaduta disappeared. Wow, isn't that the Guru himself who comes and then teaches his own disciple what is the method in attaining and being able to fulfill those demands of the Guru and his family members? There is nothing impossible. And you know what Twasta had is faith in his Guru. The most important lesson over here is how do you have the Shraddha. Shraddha and Saburi is extremely important. The Gurus ensure that there is nothing that can befall their disciples and devotees. He's ever protecting. He's always teaching them, guiding them, holding their hands and walking through the path. So why fear when I am here, says Baba. So do not fear. Just have faith. Shraddha and Saburi and Bhakti and Guru Seva. This is all you need to require to do, and everything will work magic. Twasta realized that it was none else but the Guru of Gurus, the Adi Guru, Lord Vishveshvara himself, who had come in the form of the Avadut to help him. Who is Adi Guru? Lord Vishveshvara, who is none other than Lord Shivji himself. He is known as Adi Guru. And who is the Supreme Master? Lord Dattatreya. And please understand, Lord Dattatreya is also an essence of Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. Twasta devoutly followed all the instructions of the Avadut and took darshan of all the shrines and performed all the vidhis. Lord Vishveshvara was very much pleased with the devotion of the boy. He appeared before him and asked him to seek a boon. The Brahmachari prayed that he may be blessed to fulfill all the tasks set by his Guru and the Guru's family members, and that thereby be able to please them all. What is Twasta asking? Did he ask anything for himself? Absolutely not. All he was asking Lord Vishveshvara is that he should be able to fulfill all the tasks set by his Guru and his Guru's family members and please them all. This is what Twasta asked. That is what is called selfless service unto the lotus feet of the Gurudev. He is absolutely in devotion. He is in love with his Guru. There is nothing else Twasta wants. He just wants to serve his Guru. This is the kind of faith you need to have. This is the kind of Guru Bhakti one needs to have. We all go and ask for ourselves. But remember, Twasta is only asking to do seva unto his master, and so that he can make his Guru happy and please them all. Not just his Guru, but his Guru's family members too. The Lord blessed him and granted him all the boons and asked him to return to his Guru's place. Twasta was able to fulfill all the tasks set for him with Lord Vishveshvara's grace and blessings. The Guru, his wife and children were pleased with the boy beyond all measures. The Guru imparted to Twasta all scriptural knowledge and spiritual wisdom. And Twasta became perfect in knowledge and an enlightened being. What does it mean? The Guru is going to first test you how much faith you have in the word of the Guru. And are you the one who is going to stand by what is being ordained by your Gurudev? So he's going to put those tests to see how you follow that path. And only when you follow, when you wear yourself out to perform that activity, that task ordained by your master, then only he knows that yes, the disciple is worthy enough, which is assessed by the Guru himself, not anybody. Even you cannot judge yourself. Only the Guru knows whether you are spiritually deserving or not. And then what did he impart? He imparted the spiritual wisdom. Twasta became an enlightened being with the grace of his Gurudev. He imparted to him the spiritual knowledge. That is what is the most important thing. It is beyond any wealth you can covet in this world. The spiritual wisdom and the spiritual knowledge is priceless. It is precious than any wealth that you can ever imagine about. So don't go after the material wealth. Don't run after this greed and lust. It is not going to take you anywhere. Seek the divine Lord Almighty's grace. Always go after that and attain your spiritual will. See, what has to come to you will anyways come to you. Please remember, the divine Lord Almighty has programmed your life in such a beautiful manner. No matter whatever your karmas are, it always will get cushioned, because your guru is taking care of you. Your guru is the foundation, substratum of on which you exist. So why should you fear? Have that faith in your Gurudev that everything will be fine. The reason why he's making certain things happen is for your own good alone, so that tomorrow there's nothing shall befall on you. He cares about you. He cares about everybody. See, there is always well-being for everyone, whether they are directly associated to him or indirectly associated to him. A guru can never have any bhed bhav. Bhed bhav means he's not going to have any biases in his life. He doesn't discriminate, there is no discrimination between somebody being his favorite and somebody not being his favorite. For him, everybody is equal. They are universal, universal beings, because they have come from him. It is my Guru's creation alone. So Lord Shri Krishna's creation. So where is the question of he having he's favoring someone, he's not favoring someone? Please remember, he is equal to all. He loves everybody. Yesterday evening, my Krishna Guruji was giving a very beautiful lesson from Bhagavad Gita, which he is going to teach today. It is about how do you, do everything only being devoted to Lord Shri Krishna alone. You are performing all duties. In that Bhagavad Gita verse, Lord Shri Krishna says, Arjuna, you have to perform all the duties for my sake alone, being devoted to me, depending upon me. You have to depend upon the Lord. You cannot say, I will take care. Who are you to take care of anything? Who are you to think you are going to give something to someone? Please remember, everything is the will of the divine Lord Almighty. If there is no divine grace, what do you think that you can do in this world? You can't even move a blade of grass without the divine will. So where is the question of you doing or giving something to someone? And most important, in that he says, you have to be your good self. You cannot have malice towards any beings in this world. That is the only way to attaining Lord Shri Krishna. Is it that possible? Today we definitely think, oh, I like this person, I don't like this person, I love this person. We cannot think like that. Why do you think the Guru is such a great being? Because he considers everybody as his children. Guru Ma, Krishna Ma. Why do you think is such a profound one? Because everybody is his children. He cares about everybody's well-being, whether they are good or bad, and he doesn't judge everyone. Why? Because he knows, everybody has the goodness in them and the evil as well. So who do you want to be is a choice that you have. You can either become a divine being or you can become a demon as well. The choice rests with you alone. So what is that you want is a choice that you have. So my Guruji will always say, see, everybody has their goodness in them and their meanness. So in some people the goodness is predominant, in some people the meanness is predominant. So do you think I should, get swayed by both of this? Both of them are at the end of the day absolutely ignorant being. So how does it matter? But what he is all about? He's compassionate. He's so kind. He's benevolent. He's gracious. He's full of goodness. He's full of love. He understands they are all ignorant beings. He can only sympathize with them. He can show his compassion. He's very compassionate because they don't understand. This is exactly what my Krishna Guruji also says. See, these people don't know. They don't understand because they don't have that knowledge. That is why Jesus Christ, when he was, he was on the cross and in that pain, he then said to the Father in the heaven, Father in the heaven, he said, what he said to the Father in the heaven? He said, Father, please forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. They are ignorant beings. This is exactly what being God means. Can you go on the cross and get crucified? You think it's so easy? That the crucifixion represents what? That God, the Guru, suffers for the sins and karmas of this world. That is what it represents. How much of pain it is? Imagine one small pain, we say, oh my God, my back is hurting, my hand is hurting, my finger is hurting. Imagine somebody is being nailed on the cross. How painful that is. That pain represents the sins for which the divine Lord Almighty suffers. Why? Because human beings don't understand what they are doing. So they are godly. To become God is not an easy thing. To become divine is not easy at all. Being your good self, you think it is such an easy lesson? It is not. You're going to be tested constantly. You're going to be put into so many different kinds of tests to see where you stand. Is your goodness going to come out and shine, or you're going to be your mean self? This is one test which everybody has to give into, especially, when you are on the path of spirituality and you're learning under the guru, the great master. You better give that test. And if you don't give, then you're not fit to being in spiritual. This is exactly what my Krishna Guruji teaches all of us. So it is important for us to be our good self. And what is the utmost that you need to have? Faith. Absolute faith, complete surrender, unconditional pure love, and exclusive devotion, and not have any bias against anyone. And most important, become detached from everybody. Don't have any attachments. So what happens when you are attached to anybody, whether it is your body's parents, relatives, friends, family, husband, wife. If they say anything, you will get hurt. Why? Because your mind is constantly going to dwell in what they are saying. If they praise you, you will feel, oh, you're going to be mighty pleased. You're going to be on cloud 9. And if they say something bad to you, then you're going to feel miserable. But none of these things should matter. And that is what is called being detached. The detachment is extremely important. At the end of the day, please be attached only to Lord Shri Krishna and your Gurudev. Nobody else is worth that attachment. You know why? When you're attached to them, you will at least attain them. When you're attached to the material worldly people, then you will attain that. You will have to come back again and again with them. Why do you need that bondage? Why are you getting entangled in that material worldly mire? You don't need that. So be attached to the divine Lord Almighty. Be devoted and just be in love with Him. Chant His name. Hari Bol 24/7. That is what will redeem you. The world is not worth it, let me tell you. People will fight over a small piece of property, gold, you name it. Any wealth that you covet is going to be the cause of everyone's misery. And this is the truth. This is all about, that is what is taught in Bhagavad Gita. Mahabharata is all about that. Fighting a war for a piece of land, a kingdom. And then everybody gets killed in that. And what is that there is to achieve after that? This is the truth which Lord Shri Krishna has imparted in Bhagavad Gita, which we need to live. We need to live and breathe. This is our dharma. And what are we doing? We're running after that same material worldly lust and greed. We're running after our desires. We're chasing our desires. And then what happens? At the end of the day, we have to also go through that misery. There is nobody on this planet Earth who has not suffered this misery. What does all this spiritual knowledge means? Why have they given different stories? So that we understand that we should not run after lust and greed, because it is not going to give us anything. Ramayana is also all about, it was lust. Ravana wanted Sita. He, kidnapped her. And then what happened? Ram was sent to Vanvas. For what? Just because his stepmother wanted her son to become the king. So everything at the end of the day is for possession, right? So what is it? Lust and greed. And these two stems from what? Desires. So become a desireless being. Having desire is going to be the downfall of your all misery. It's going to be the downfall of you, and it's going to be cause of all your miseries. Why do you need to become miserable? When you live, this morning I was telling my Krishna Guruji, I really love your life. Not the life that you suffer for everybody. That's really painful. I don't think at this moment I would be capable, but when He makes me capable, I might become capable. Rather, I will be capable. But today, at this point in time, I told him, you know what? I will never covet your position. I don't even want it. You are perfect. You are Lord Shri Krishna. You are the, Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. You are the Jagat Guru. Nobody can take your position. Only you are who you are. But I love how you live. See, today you have nothing in your name. You don't covet any wealth. You have nothing to even, write a will or property or family or anything. Everybody is part of you. Vasudev Kutumbam. And what is the wealth you own? That knowledge. And he'll say the knowledge is also not mine. It just comes from some source. The supreme source. You're the knowledge incarnate. You own this entire universe, yet you don't own anything. How beautiful is that life? Yes, I covered that. Because you know what? That is freedom. That is Avadut. Yesterday we did. Who is this Avadut? One who does, we try to define an attribute to the attributelessness. How beautiful is that? He's ever free. He's a free being. Today he just can walk away giving up everything. There's nobody to come and claim anything. How profound is that life? And today having even one piece of land in your name is such a miserable thing. Even one jewelry, everybody wants it. Everybody will run and come behind you. Oh my God, that's a miserable life. We don't need that. So being minimalistic, what do we learn in spirituality? What does our guru teach us? To live a simple life, to live a God-pleasing life. Even if you have that small piece of land, there is going to be fight. 100 people are going to come and claim that. And here, in the end of this chapters, the most important lesson we will be studying about the 24 principal gurus of Lord Dattatreya. And in that one guru, his Lord Dattatreya is going to teach about this important lesson, where a bird is carrying a small food, in a piece of food in its mouth, and everybody is flocking behind this bird. The moment that piece of food drops down, everybody goes away. So if you have that little piece of food represents what? Wealth, possession, asset, whatever, gold, everything, right? Money. Now people come after you like vultures, and then what happens? If they all want to own that, they all want to possess that. This is the world we are into. So covet nothing, have nothing, don't bother about it. The greatest wealth, the greatest possession that you can have is freedom. Freedom from material worldly bondage, freedom from all your desires, freedom from this running after this lust and greed. It is not going to give anything. And that is why it is said, always whatever the divine Lord bestows upon you, just be very gracious about it. Accept it. When it comes from the divine Lord, it doesn't have any karma. And please remember, you will become contented with everything. Then you're not even going to be attached. And tomorrow if somebody even takes it away, it doesn't matter to you. What can anybody take away from you? Some piece of land. And for how long are they going to live on that? Matter of some time. And then everybody has to die one day. This is the truth which the human being don't understand. They are given into so much greed. People don't even have life to live. They are just hanging by a simple thread, living on this healthcare system. They're pumping medicines to live that life, and they might die anytime. So what is that possession all about that you think you own? Are you going to take anything with you? No, we come with nothing, we go with nothing. So this is the truth. When you realize this truth, then you're not going to run after any of this material worldly lust, greed, desires, possessions, job, children, everything, house, nothing you will run after. Then you will be very peace with yourself. You will be very grateful for everything, and you will just be lost in the divine Lord in devotion and just doing service to him. And any duty that you will do, you will only perform for the divine Lord Almighty, not for anybody else. That is what you have to achieve. And that is what spirituality teaches all about. And that doesn't come so easily. And the caveat here is that you have to put arduous effort. You have to perform you have to perform all your duties by being not attached to that. You have to perform nishkama karma, selfless actions. And most important, you have to understand you are not doing it for you or anybody. You're serving, you're doing your duties for the divine Lord Almighty. Then what happens? You're detached and you're dispassionate, and then you discriminate. And you will be able to see God in everybody, and you will understand this world is nothing but Maya alone. So let us come back. He became Vishwakarma, master of all the arts and skills, and came to be known as Tvasta Brahma. He ended the Guru Bhakti Mahima as related. Here ended the Guru Bhakti Mahima as related by Lord Shiva to Parvati. Saimdev thanked Gurunath for enlightening him on Guru Bhakti Mahima and started extolling him again. O Gurunath, you are Lord Dattatreya, the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara unified in one. You are the originator of the Vedas. Whenever dharma starts declining, you incarnate in the world to destroy the wicked and to protect the good. To establish dharma and to re-establish it again on earth. You were the ordainer of the Varnashrama Dharma for the upkeep of harmony, order and happiness in the human society and the world. You are the giver of all auspiciousness, and you are an ocean of mercy. You are always seated under the Audumber tree, ever ready to receive your devotees and to offer them your divine and loving protection at all times. You are Bhakta Vatsala. Lord, you are the tree. I am the creeper nestling around you. You are the Kalpavriksha come on earth. Your mere darshan is enough to destroy the accumulated store of all sins of all our former lives. You are the fulfiller of the four Purusharthas of life. Please permit me to stay at your lotus feet and bless me that I shall never be separated from you. How beautiful is this? This is all you have to ask from your Gurudev. You don't need to ask anything else. Please remember, the Guru knows what to give you, when to give you, and why to give you. So don't ever come and ask anything from your Guru, but except ask him that his grace has to be always on your head, that you get an opportunity to always be with him, serve him, and to learn from him, and to evolve on the path of spirituality. Seek your spiritual wheel. Don't ask for any material desires. That is not going to help you. It's only going to make you become a miserable human being. Because anything, material, which is, whatever is created will also have to be destroyed someday. Example, imagine Lord Shri Krishna, the entire Yadu clan. He saw his entire clan, his entire, the whole family being destroyed right in front of his eyes. And how did they die? They died a very horrible death. They were, intoxicated. They were fighting with each other and they died. They killed each other and died at Prabhasa. He saw that Holocaust of all his kith and kin literally fighting in front of his eyes. You think Lord Shri Krishna was disturbed? No, he was perfect. Even at that time, he was just lost in his self, a perfect being who's unattached like the lotus leaf, standing ever aloof, even in that muck of this material worldly existence. He was the Lord himself. He was shining brightly, effulgent being, never disturbed, never perturbed by anything that was happening around him. That is the perfect state one has to attain. And that is why we always reference, like the lotus leaf, Lord Shri Krishna lived with where the water was untouched to the leaf, which means where whatever happens, nothing touches the Lord. He's perfect in his way of life. That is why we say Bhagavad Gita is the way of life. How do you live in the material world while performing all the duties yet not being attached to anything? That is why we have to follow the way of life as prescribed by Lord Shri Krishna and not as per your own way you think you know, or your parents, you have learned from your parents or your grandparents or great-grandparents. It doesn't matter. That is not the way of life. So learn the way of life and at least live one or two aspects, two lessons from that. It will give you a great good. It will do a lot of good to you. So this is extremely important. And here, what did Sayamdeo say? He praised the Gurunath. So what is another most important thing that we need to do? We have to always sing the glories and the praises of the divine Lord Almighty, his greatness. And what does he do? Why does he come on this planet Earth? Why does he manifest? And who is he? Again here, Sayamdeo, what did he narrate? The Guru Charitra, the nature of a Guru. Who is this great master? How does he work? What kind of a nature does he have? And we need to emulate that nature. We need to, adapt to that nature and start imbibing and living ourselves. That is what will make our Gurus proud about, their disciples and devotees. Sri Narasimha Saraswati told Sayamdeo that he could bring his family and stay at Gangapur. See, only when the Guru, ordains you that you can come and stay with him, only then you can. It is not anybody else's decision, or nobody can determine that. It's only your Guru's will. Please remember, only those who have to be with him will be with him, only with your Guru's will. It is not for anybody us to determine or ask or whatever you think you can. Yeah, we all have to seek. We all have to ask, but at the end of the day, the decision rests with the Guru himself. He is the ultimate authority. He is the highest. So give him that respect, revere him, praise him, always sing his divine glories, his leelas. That is what we have to do. Sayamdeo had 4 sons. The eldest was Nagnath, who became the most ardent devotee of Gurunath. He became very dear to Gurunath and was loved by him very much. One day, Gurunath asked Saimdeo to perform Ananta Padmanabha Vrata, as it happened to be the Ananta Padmanabha Chaturdashi day. Saimdeo said the Gurunath himself was his Lord Ananta and he would only worship Gurunath. Gurunath said that Ananta Padmanabha Vrata had very great significance and that by performing it, Kaundinya had earned great merit. So Kaundinya is a rishi, okay? We say no Kaundinya Gotra. So these are all the lineage from which we are all born from. So Kaundinya had earned great merit and attained an eternal abode in the starry heavens. Saimdeo requested Gurunath to tell him how Kaundinya happened to perform the vrata. So with this, we end this chapter. Thus ends the 42nd chapter of Shri Guru Charitra describing the Kashi Yatra. Glory to the All-Merciful, the Omnipresent and the Ever-Responsive Gurunath. So this chapter again gave us an understanding of how do you be devoted to the Guru and how does one need to do seva to the Guru and how should you have the Guru Bhakti. Bhakti is devotion. It is extremely important. The love and devotion, the faith, that is all it is all about. And I keep reiterating the same thing. Sometimes I get bored. I tell my Krishna Guruji, you teach the same thing endlessly. How does it work? He says, that is my job and I have to do my job. I am very good at it and he's amazing. No doubts about it. The same thing he teaches in different ways, with different examples, so that we understand and we imbibe this knowledge, and it is always there within us at all times. Similarly here, Gurunath is also giving the same explanation through different stories, to different leelas that he has performed during his sojourn on this planet Earth, or when he had manifested. So what is he saying? He keeps manifesting time and again. And you know what? When yesterday we read about who is this Avadhuta. Avadhuta doesn't come to destroy evil. On the contrary, what does he do? He conquers evil. That's very profound. There is a huge difference between destroying and conquering. Conquering evil, imagine how powerful Lord Dattatreya is. Only Lord Dattatreya can do that. So, and only Lord Shri Krishna can do that. So nobody else can. So let us all pray and worship that we all evolve on this beautiful path of spirituality and redeem ourselves. So with this, we end this chapter. Let us begin with a new chapter. Chapter 43, that is Ananta Padmanabha Vrata Mahima. This chapter describes the Ananta Padmanabha Vrata Mahima and the story of Kaundinya Rishi, who through the grace of Lord Ananta earned an eternal abode in the realm of the stars in the heavens, that is skies. Gurunath asked Saimdeo that he should also perform Ananta Padmanabha Vrata, especially because he too belonged to the Kaundinya's Gotra. I don't know what the word Gotra means, but I know you come from the lineage of that Rishi. Namdarak, like we come from Nath Sampradaya. My Gurudev is Lord Dattatreya. So we come from the Nath Sampradaya. So our Gurudev, our lineage is Nath Sampradaya. Namdarak was highly excited with joy and enthusiasm listening to the close association of his ancestor Saimdeo with Gurunath. He was all eager to know more and more details of their association. He pressed Siddhamuni to continue the narration. Shri Narasimha Saraswati's narration to Saimdeo regarding Ananta Padmanabha Vrata was recounted in this chapter by Siddhamuni. Yudhishthira was one of those who performed this vrata as advised by Lord Shri Krishna. See, please remember, only when the divine masters, the gurus themselves instruct you to do something like this can you do, but not on your own. This is how it happened. The evil Duryodhana induced Yudhishthira to play the game of dice, and in that, through deceit and foul play, he defeated Yudhishthira. The bet in the game was that whoever lost the game was to go into exile for 12 years, and in the 13th year they should live incognito. In case they were found in the 13th year, the cycle of exile would start all over again. Because of the defeat in the game, the Pandava princes had to forsake their throne and had to go into exile along with their queen Draupadi. They were put to many hardships. The evil Duryodhana was not letting them live in peace even in the forest. Yudhishthira's adherence to Dharma and his pledge to honor the commitments of the bet made him bear it all. Although he and his brothers could crush Duryodhana and his people in physical combat, they were restraining themselves so as not to bring a blemish on their vow of Dharma and adherence to truth. While the Pandavas were in great despair as to how they could get over the difficulties without violating in the least even a single rule of dharma and vow of truth on their part, they saw to their great delight that Lord Shri Krishna had come to visit them. The Pandavas ran forward and fell prostrate at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. They worshipped him with great devotion. Yudhishthira then told the Lord that the thought of Krishna and constant remembrance of him alone was their sustenance and sole strength in being able to withstand all the ordeals that they were passing through. Absolutely, this is the truth. Please remember, those who are the devotees of Lord Shri Krishna, things are not going to be easy. He's going to see whether you stand, the lessons that he has imparted, the challenges that he's going to put you through, whether you are capable of it or not. Lord Shri Krishna is always going to test you, but please remember, he's always there with you. His strength is within you. He just wants to see whether you will follow the path of dharma and righteousness or not. And most important, you know what Lord says? One of the important qualities that you need to have is fortitude, forbearance. You need to forbear everything. And my Krishna Guruji will say, do you all have any forbearance at all? No. We are so weaklings. We are all today, we don't want to face anything. We cannot withstand even a small pain. So how do you stand anything like this? Imagine, the Pandavas were all, going through these kind of challenges, and yet they were able to withstand. And what does Yudhishthira says? They said that, even though they were having so much of challenge, just the thought of Lord Shri Krishna and the constant remembrance of him alone was their sustenance and sole strength in being able to withstand all the ordeals that they were passing through. But just remember him, believe me, he's the strength within you. Nothing shall befall you. Have that forbearance. What does that forbearance mean? That is the quality of the Lord himself. So he is within you. So when you remember him, you think you don't have that strength. In fact, in one of the satsangs, my Krishna Guruji teaches, see, I rest within your heart. I live in your heart. So you think any of these qualities doesn't exist in you, but what makes you think you're a mere mortal? Just because you have not realized me within you. You've never understood what are your potentials. So unravel that God within yourself. Unravel this beautiful strength that rests within you alone. He, however, prayed that Lord should advise them as to how they would be able to pass through the exile safely and would be able to recover their kingdom, which they had been deceitfully deprived of by their cousins. Lord Krishna told them that they should do Ananta Padmanabha Vrata, which would earn for them great merit and would be a great protection to them always, and would certainly help them to pass through all the ordeals unscathed, triumph over the Kauravas eventually, and win back their kingdom. Ananta Padmanabha, the lotus-naveled Lord of eternity, was indeed Lord Krishna himself. Who is Ananta Padmanabha? Ananta Padmanabha is Lord Krishna himself. This vrata was to be done on Chaturdashi day of Shukla Paksha during the Bhadrapada month. Lord Shri Krishna further said that this vrata was done in olden times by Kaundinya Rishi at the instance of his wife Shushila and Lord Ananta himself. And he thereafter explained how Kaundinya started performing the vrata. Sushila was the daughter of Brahmin by the name Sumanta. Sushila's mother was Diksha, the daughter of Bhrigu Rishi. Diksha passed away when Sushila was still a child. Sushila, though a child, used to manage the household very well, also while attending upon her father. Sumanta married again. The second wife's name was Karkashi. She was a very hot-tempered person and was always quarreling with her husband. She was not disposed kindly towards Sushila either. Sumanta was anxious and desirous of getting his daughter married off soon. One day, Kaundinya happened to come to their house. Sumanta offered his daughter in marriage to Kaundinya, to which the latter consented. Sushila's marriage was thus performed with Kaundinya Rishi. Kaundinya stayed for some days in Sumanta's house after the marriage. Finally, on an auspicious day, Kaundinya, along with his bride, set out on their journey back home. All that Sumanta could give his daughter was a little quantity of millet flour packed in a piece of cloth at the time of her departure, and even that too much against the will of his wife. By midday, they reached a river. They took a break here so that Kaundinya could perform his midday oblations. Sushila was very much charmed by the Silvan surrounding and was enchanted by the beauty of the forest and the river. While she was looking around, drinking in the beauty of the Mother Nature, she was at a little distance from a group of women engaged in some religious ceremony. She went to them and inquired about the ceremony which they were performing with such great devotion. The women told her that they were doing Ananta Padmanabha Chaturdashi Vrata, which earns great merit for the performer. They said that the fruits of the Vrata was also Ananta, and that the Vrata fulfills all human desires and ferries the person safely across the tribulations of life. They told her that she too could join the Vrata along with them. Sushila also then performed the Vrata most meticulously and devoutly, observing all the instructions laid down for the Vrata as told her by the women. She used the millet flour given to her by her father for the Vrata and offered it to the Brahmin priest who conducted the puja. After the puja was over, wearing the red 14-knotted sacramental thread and taking leave of the women, she came back to join her husband. They then resumed their journey. See, any ritual, anything that is done with absolute faith will definitely yield you all the goodness. Most important, when it is especially instructed by your Gurudev or the Lord himself, it has greater merit than what we can ever imagine. When the Lord is instructing you to do something, there is a greater reason which we cannot even fathom or understand. And then you don't have to question, you just have to do it. He knows why that is important. Even if you don't need to know the reasons, but there is a reason when it is coming from the mouth of your Gurudev or the Lord himself. So please obey and follow exactly what your Lord and Guru or instructs and orders you to do. They reached a town called Amravati. At the very outskirts of the town itself, the townspeople greeted and welcomed them. In one voice they said, "You are the most learned and holy person. You are a great tapasvi, as we can see the yogic splendor and radiance in your face. You must stay in our town only. We would not let you leave from here." They led Kaundinya and his wife to a spacious house in the town and made them stay there. Kaundinya was honored and respected very much by the town people. He became very prosperous. His house was ever plenty with wealth, paddy, cattle, etc. One day, Kaundinya happened to see the red sacramental thread on the wrist of his wife and asked her what it was. He thought it was a charm she was bearing to entice and enslave him. She told him that it was the sacramental thread of the Ananta Vrata, which he was regularly performing. It was all due to Lord Ananta's grace only that we are so prosperous. She said. Kaundinya became furious. "It is all nonsense what you say. All this wealth and prosperity is the result of my greatness alone." See what happens. Even though Kaundinya is a great rishi, when the wealth, name and fame, when people think you're somebody great, give you that honor, you know what happens? Ego and arrogance comes in. Why have we given this story? So that we don't become like that. We should never let our ego and arrogance come in at any point in time, thinking that I am the greatest, I am the mightiest, it is because of me, I am so and so. Never have something like that. We are nobody. Please remember, whatever is there, whoever you are is only with the divine grace. And here, he got very angry because, it was, oh, my wife is saying she is doing the vrata, and because of it is Lord Ananta that we are having all this wealth and everything that is there going good. But what did happen? His ego was hurt. So when ego was hurt, what has happened? Your mind has already come in. One most important lesson on the path of spirituality is this: never let your ego come in your way. Please remember, this ego is a very dangerous thing. When it raises its ugly head, we can't even imagine. So always be vigilant, always be careful about it, always be cautious. Never let your ego rise. It's very bad and it is detrimental, and you will fall off the path of that spirituality. Whatever that you have put effort to get to a certain place, it's very easy from there to come towards that destruction of your own self. The fall is very easy, but the climb is very tough and arduous. Once you fall, you have to put 100 times more that effort to climb again. It's not easy at all. So let us see what happens here. Kaundinya became furious. It is all nonsense what you say. All this wealth and prosperity is a result of my greatness alone. Saying thus, he tore the thread from her wrist and flung it into the fire without listening at all to all the pleadings of his wife. No sooner did he do this than misfortune befell Kaundinya. All the people turned away from him. He lost his wealth. His house caught fire. He became penniless and shelterless. He realized that all this catastrophic turn of events in his life was due to nothing else but the blasphemy and sin he had committed against Lord Ananta. He was in great remorse. He started crying out to Ananta for forgiving him. He vowed he would not touch food unless Ananta forgave him and blessed him with darshan. He set out frantically, searching for Ananta everywhere. See, this is what happens. You think it doesn't happen to, if it can happen to great rishis like Kaundinya Muni, imagine what about mere mortals like us? You think this cannot happen to us? This happens to us every single day in and day out, but we don't realize. So never, become arrogant. Always be devoted to the divine Lord. He's the benefactor. He's always protecting us. So always be very gracious and be your good self. Don't become haughty. Don't have that pride, arrogance, ego, which will pull anyone down. When you have even this much of an ego and arrogance, and that power of your position, name, fame, please remember your downfall is inevitable. If it can happen to Kaundinya Rishi, it can happen to anybody. Crying, "O Ananta," he went on roaming from place to place. "I will end my life if you will not give me your darshan," he was wailing. As he was wandering thus, he came across a tree richly laden with fruits. But there was not a bird to be seen on the tree, even though the tree was overladen with luscious-looking fruits. Kaundinya plaintively asked the tree whether she had seen Ananta and whether she could tell him where to find him. The tree answered in the negative. After proceeding further in his search, he came across a cow and a calf. The cow was not able to graze due to its blistered tongue. Kaundinya asked the cow whether she had seen Ananta and whether she could tell where he could find him. The cow nodded a negative reply. Kaundinya went searching further and he came across a bullock. He put to the bullock also the same question, which he had asked the tree and the cow earlier. The bullock also nodded a negative reply. Kaundinya then came across 2 adjoining lakes full of lotus flowers. He put to the lakes too his question whether they had seen Lord Ananta, and the reply was again in the negative. Thereafter, he came across an ass and an elephant. There was no affirmative response from them either. Kaundinya was in great desperation. He was terribly exhausted and fell down. His life breath seemed to be ebbing out. He was still frantically crying in a choking voice, his heart bursting out with great anguish for Lord Ananta's darshan. At that critical moment, one old man appeared, Lord Ananta himself in an assumed form. The old man asked him what his anguish was all about. Kaundinya cried out his request to him also, whether he could take him and get for him Lord Ananta's darshan. So, let us understand tomorrow as to what all these different representations are all about, and who do they represent, and what is the spiritual meaning. So let us understand how does Lord Ananta now gives darshan to Kaundinya Rishi and what happens. Please remember, don't have ego, don't have arrogance, don't have pride, haughtiness of your power, position, name, fame, nothing. Always catch hold of and surrendered unto the lotus feet of your Gurudev and Lord Shri Krishna, and always chant their name alone. Don't run after material worldly desires, lust and greed. Stay away. Guru Bhakti, Guru Seva. That is all you need to have. With that, we'll stop here today and we'll continue tomorrow and understand what happens and how does Kaundinya Rishi gets the grace of Lord Ananta. Thank you for joining Shri Guru Charitra Satsang. See you all tomorrow at the same time. Wishing you all a very happy Thursday. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Gurunath Nathaya Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.